I never expected a simple dinner reservation to change the entire direction of my life. I thought I was just going on a date. Fifth date with someone I really liked. Good restaurant, corner tables, soft lighting. I had ironed my shirt. I was looking forward to it. But then somewhere between the main course and dessert, she went quiet, put her fork down, looked at me in this way that was calm on the surface but had something heavy underneath it. And she said the words that I would think about for a long time after. She said she had something to tell me. And then she told me. And then she said, "You can leave. I won't make it difficult." I completely understand. She paused. "Most men do," she said, quietly, like it was just something she had learned about the world, like she had filed it away somewhere a long time ago and made her peace with it. And then she picked up her glass and looked slightly past my shoulder, just enough to give me room, just enough so I wouldn't have to watch her watch me go. That single moment told me everything. It told me she had done this before, sat across from someone she was starting to care about, said the thing she had been holding back, and then watched that person's interest quietly disappear. It told me she had gotten so used to being left that she had started making it easier for people to do it. It told me she wasn't just carrying her own worries across that table. She was carrying every person who had ever chosen the door over her. And right then, sitting in that restaurant, looking at this woman in her dark blue dress who was already managing the ending before she knew what I would say, I made a decision. I leaned forward, and I said, "Tell me about her. But let me take you back. Because to understand that moment, you need to understand who we both were before it. My name is Marcus. I am a physical therapist. I spend my days helping people recover things they thought were gone forever. Strength, movement, the basic trust that their own body is not their enemy. People come to me at their lowest point after accidents, after surgeries, after the kind of pain that makes you feel like you will never feel normal again, and my job is to sit with them in that and help them find their way back. Slowly, without rushing, without pretending it is easier than it is. I think that work shaped who I became as a person. I am not someone who walks away from something just because it is complicated. I never have been. I learned early that the things worth having always ask something of you. They always require you to stay in the room when leaving would be easier. I was 36. I had one serious relationship behind me that had ended not with any big fight or dramatic moment, but with a quiet mutual realization that we were building toward different lives. That kind of ending has its own particular loneliness. No one to blame, nothing to point to. Just two people slowly becoming strangers while being very polite about it. After that, I did not rush into anything new. I was not closed off. I just became more honest with myself about what I was actually looking for. I was looking for something that felt real, not convenient, not comfortable, real. Now let me tell you about Claire. Claire was 33 years old. She worked as a graphic designer from home, mostly remote work for a branding agency. She was talented in that quiet, understated way. She just produced beautiful work and never made a performance of it. She noticed things other people walked right past. The way a color shifts in late afternoon light. The expression on someone's face that does not quite match their words. The small details that tell the real story underneath the obvious one. She was warm and sharp and funny in this dry, quiet way that would catch you completely off guard. The kind of funny where you are not even sure you should laugh and then you realize she is already smiling and it is too late for you. She had dark, warm eyes and a smile that always took a moment to arrive, like it had to travel from somewhere deep before it reached her face. But when it got there, when it finally got there, it was the most genuine thing I had ever seen. I met her 4 months before that dinner at a mutual friend's birthday party. We ended up talking for almost 2 hours without either of us noticing the time going. I texted her the next day. She texted back. And for 4 months after that, we had been doing that slow, careful, hopeful thing where you like someone more each time you see them, and you are trying not to let it show too fast. Coffee that stretched past when we meant to leave. Conversations that went to places I did not expect. The kind of easy that does not come along very often. But there was something she had not told me. Something she held back with everyone knew. Something she watched and waited and measured before she said out loud. Because every time she had said it before, things had changed, and she was sitting across from me at that restaurant in her dark blue dress, and she had decided tonight was the night to say it. She had a 5-year-old daughter named Mia. That was what she told me. She said it plainly and simply, the way someone says something they have practiced saying. And then she watched my face very carefully for what came next. "I know I should have told you earlier," she said. "I just have learned to wait a little, to see if someone is worth telling first." She looked at me directly. "So you can leave. No awkwardness, no hard feelings. I completely understand. And then most men do." And then she looked past my shoulder and gave me the space to go. I sat there. I looked at her, and I thought about what it must take to do that. To sit across from someone you like, someone you have spent 4 months getting to know, and hand them the exit before they even ask for it. To be so practiced at being left that you have turned it into something almost graceful. That is not coldness. That is armor. That is what happens to a person after they have hoped enough times and been disappointed enough times that hoping starts to feel like the dangerous thing. I leaned forward. "Claire." She looked at me. "Tell me about her," I said. She stared at me. "What, Mia?" I said. "Tell me about her." She looked at me like I was speaking a language she recognized but had not expected to hear at this particular table on this particular evening. "Marcus, you really don't have—" "I know I don't have to," I said. "I want to." "Tell me about her." A silence, long enough that I was not sure which direction she would go. And then slowly, carefully, the way someone steps onto ice and tests it before trusting it with their full weight, she started talking. She told me that Mia was 5.5, that she had Claire's eyes and her grandfather's stubbornness, which was apparently a lot of stubbornness, that she was obsessed with books about animals, and had recently become deeply personally concerned with the survival and happiness of all frogs everywhere. That she was brave the way small children are brave, completely and without strategy, without knowing yet that bravery is supposed to be hard. And as Claire talked, I watched something happen to her face. The careful, managed, braced version of herself just softened. She stopped watching me for my reaction. She stopped listening for the sound of someone pulling back. She just talked about her daughter. And she was different. She was warmer and more alive, and more completely herself than I had seen her in 4 months of dates. When she stopped, she seemed to catch herself. She looked almost embarrassed by how much she had said. "Sorry," she said. "I don't apologize," I said. She looked at me. "She sounds amazing," I said. And I meant every single word of it. I could see her searching my face for the performance, looking for the place where I was just saying the right thing to get through the rest of the evening smoothly. She was looking for the gap between what I was saying and what I actually meant. She did not find one, because there was nothing to find. "Why aren't you?" She stopped, started again. "Most people, when I tell them I know," I said. "But I'm not most people," not arrogantly, just as a simple fact. She held that for a moment. Then she looked down at the table and I watched something move across her face, a wave of emotion she was clearly not planning to feel in a restaurant on a 5th date. She held it together, but just barely. "You know this is complicated," she said quietly. "Most things worth anything are," I said. We finished dinner. We walked outside into the cool evening air, and the street was quiet and the city was doing its quiet nighttime thing around us. Claire was different now than she had been at the start of the evening. Something had come down slightly, some degree of the careful distance she always kept. But at the corner where we usually said goodbye, she turned to me and said, "You don't have to keep being kind about this, Marcus." I stopped walking. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you're a good person. I know that. But you don't have to. I am giving you full permission to just be honest. If this is more than you were looking for." I looked at her standing there in the evening light, in her dark blue dress, giving me the most polite possible version of an exit. I thought about how many times she must have needed to use that speech. How many times she had stood on a corner, or sat in a parking lot, or typed into her phone the careful, kind, dignified version of "It is okay, you can go, I have done this before." I thought about how long it must take to get that good at letting people leave. "Claire," I said. "Yeah, stop giving me the exit." She blinked. "I have not asked for it. I have not looked for it. You keep building it and holding it out, and I keep not taking it." I looked right at her. "How many times do I have to not take it before you believe I actually don't want it?" She was very still. The traffic moved quietly behind us. "I don't know how to do this," she said finally. "I don't know how to just let something be what it is, without waiting for it to fall apart." "I know," I said. "It is not about you," she said quickly. "I need you to understand that. It is just that I have been left enough times to start expecting it. And I have gotten very good at managing it. And I don't know how to stop managing it just because someone is being she stopped. Just because someone is being what? I asked gently. She looked at me. Kind, she said. Like the word was almost difficult. Consistent. I don't know how to stop waiting for it to end just because someone is being genuinely kind. And then she said the thing that I think about the most. Even now. It is not even me I am most afraid for, she said. Her voice dropped low. It is Mia. She gives her whole heart to anyone who shows up for her. She does not know yet how to protect herself from that. She doesn't know yet that some people leave. She pressed her lips together for a moment. And I cannot be the one who teaches her that lesson. Not like that. Not by bringing someone into her life who then she stopped. And I understood then. Completely and fully understood. It was not just Claire standing on that corner protecting herself. It was a mother standing there with both arms around her daughter, shielding her from every single person who had ever looked at their life and quietly decided it was more than they wanted. Something settled in my chest. Can I meet her? I said. Claire looked up. Not tonight, not this week. Whenever you're ready, whenever it feels right to you. I held her gaze. But I would like to. I really would. She stared at me. Why? She said. Not testing me, not being difficult, actually needing to understand. Because I like you, I said, the whole version of you, not the version with the simple, uncomplicated life, you. And she is part of you. Claire looked down at the pavement. When she looked back up, her eyes were bright. She did not cry. She held it, but it cost her something to hold it. Okay, she said softly. Okay, you can meet her. The smallest pause. She is going to ask you everything she knows about frogs. I just want to prepare you for that. I laughed, really laughed. And after a moment, slowly, carefully, like something she was still learning to allow herself, she laughed too. And that sound on that quiet street on that ordinary Thursday evening was one of the best things I had ever heard. I met Mia 3 weeks later. Claire had planned it carefully, a Sunday afternoon. A park near their apartment. Somewhere familiar to Mia, somewhere she felt comfortable and could drift into her own world if she wanted to. No big moment, no formal introduction, just showing up in the same space and letting things be natural. What happened was this. Mia looked at me for about 45 seconds with those serious dark eyes, Claire's eyes exactly, and then said, with the confidence of someone delivering very important information, did you know that frogs can freeze completely solid in winter and then wake up again in spring? I did not know that, I said. She nodded slowly, like this confirmed something she had suspected about the general state of adult knowledge. Most people don't, she said. Tell me everything, I said. And she did, for the next 25 minutes, in complete detail, with hand gestures. At some point I looked up and found Claire watching us from the bench a few feet away. She had her knees pulled up to her chest and her hands around a coffee cup, and she was looking at us with this expression that she was not trying to hide. Something soft. Something carefully hopeful, something that looked like a woman who had gotten very good at not wanting things, slowly remembering how. When Mia ran off toward the swings, Claire said quietly, she likes you. I like her, I said. She does not warm up to people that quickly. She just needed someone who would take the frogs seriously, I said. Claire looked at me, and she smiled, that slow, full, real smile. The one that always took a moment to arrive, the one I had been looking forward to. The weeks after that were made of ordinary things. I learned Mia's specific system for her stuffed animals, which was complicated and non-negotiable. I learned that Claire's hard weeks had a particular sound to them, shorter answers, longer pauses, and I learned to be more present during those weeks. Not with anything dramatic, just with availability, just being someone she could reach. I fixed the drawer in her kitchen that had been sticking for months. I sat on the living room floor on a Tuesday night and watched 1.5 episodes of a children's program about talking animals because Mia said it was important, and I agreed that it was. I learned that Claire took her coffee seriously and her own rest less seriously than she should. I learned that she worried most at night when it was quiet, and there was nothing left to do but think. Some evenings she would still do it, still hand me a small quiet exit, say something like, you know you don't have to come over every week, or I know this is a lot for someone who didn't sign up for, and every time I would say the same thing. I know I don't have to. That is not why I am here. Slowly, not all at once, not without some difficulty, she started to believe me. There is one evening I think about more than any other. It was an ordinary Thursday. Late. Mia was asleep. Claire and I were sitting on her couch, not doing anything in particular, just existing together in the warm quiet of the apartment. She was reading. I was there. She put her book down, looked at me. "Can I tell you something?" "Always," I said. "That night at the restaurant," she said. "When I told you about Mia." She paused. I had already decided before I got there that it was probably going to be our last date. I looked at her. I had decided that I liked you too much to keep going without being honest. And I had decided that once I was honest, you would leave. She said it simply, without self-pity. I had already written the ending in my head before the evening even started. "What happened in your version?" I asked. "You were very kind about it," she said. "You said something thoughtful. You paid the bill. And then I never heard from you again." The room was quiet. "I'm sorry that was what you expected," I said. "It was not your fault," she said. "It was just experience." She looked at her hands for a moment. "The thing is, when you asked me to tell you about her, when you actually leaned forward and wanted to know," she stopped. "I did not know what to do with that. I genuinely did not know what to do with someone who was not leaving." "What did you do?" I asked. She looked up at me. "I just kept waiting for you to change your mind," she said. "And then at some point I realized I was so busy waiting for you to leave that I had almost missed the fact that you were staying." I looked at her for a long moment. "I'm staying," I said. Her eyes were bright. "I know," she said softly. "I know that now. It has been almost a year since that restaurant. Mia is 6. She has strong opinions about frogs and books and the correct way to make a weekend breakfast, and I agree with almost all of them. She says my name like I was always supposed to be in the story, like I was always part of this. Last week she informed me that she has decided to become a scientist who studies animals, specifically frogs, and she asked if I would help her build a proper habitat in the backyard. I said yes before she finished the sentence. Claire laughs differently now, more freely, like she is not monitoring herself while she does it, like she is not listening underneath the good moments for the sound of something ending. She told me recently, just on an ordinary evening, out of nowhere, I almost did not go to that birthday party. The one where we met. I was going to stay home. "What made you go?" I asked. "My friend Dana called me a hermit," she said, "so I went. In my least exciting outfit because I was not expecting anything to happen." I laughed. "Good thing Dana was honest," I said. "Good thing you talked to me for 2 hours," she said, and then texted the next day, and just kept showing up after that. She looked at me. "That is really the whole story, you know," she said. "You just kept showing up. I think about that restaurant table sometimes, the way she looked when she told me, the way she had already written the ending before I had even responded, the way she said most men do quietly, without bitterness, like it was just one of the established facts of her life that she had learned to work around. I think about how close I came to being another name in that long list of people who heard her full story and quietly found their way to the door, not because they were bad people, but because it is easy, genuinely easy, to look at someone else's complicated real life and tell yourself that simpler would be better, that you will find something with less history, less weight, less to navigate. I almost told myself those things. For about 3 seconds sitting at that table, I felt the pull of the easier road. And then I asked her to tell me about her daughter, and she did, and her whole face changed when she did. And I understood in that moment that the complicated thing she was asking me to accept was also the most beautiful thing about her. Here is what I want you to hear, wherever you are, whatever you are carrying right now. The person who keeps handing you the exit has not stopped hoping. They have just stopped expecting. There is a painful and important difference between those two things. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is the thing that quietly changes everything, is to look at the exit they built for you and simply not take it. Ask the question. Stay at the table. Learn the name of the 5-year-old who loves frogs. Show up for the ordinary Tuesday evenings and the hard weeks and the moments that are not romantic or cinematic, but are completely, deeply real. Because the big life, the one that actually fills you, is not built from grand gestures. It is built from small ones, done consistently, over time, by someone who decided that another person was worth staying for, and then kept deciding that every single ordinary day. That is what love is, not the moment you feel it, the choice to keep showing up for it. That was always what it was.